This tape was never meant to be heard by the outside world.
Lisa, don't look. Just run.
In 1998, 3 hikers vanished in the Appalachian wilderness. The only thing left behind was this Sony cassette recorder. The official report called it an animal attack. But the audio on this tape, and the century-old legend it awakened, tells a different story. This isn't fiction. This is the real-life horror of the Sony Beans. To understand what happened to Mark, Lisa, and David, you have to understand the land they walked into. Deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains lies a place the old-timers called Savage Hollow. Local legend speaks of a settlement established in the 1840s by a man named Ezekiel Bean. Ezekiel was a fiercely independent, some said unhinged, prospector who believed the government was out to steal his land. He dragged his family deep into the wilderness, cutting them off from society entirely. They were never seen in town again, but the stories persisted. Stories of strange lights in the valley, of missing livestock, of hunters who went into the hollow and never came out. The name Bean slowly morphed in local dialect over the decades. Whispers about the Beans place became the Beans lot, and eventually just Sony Beans. A nonsense phrase to outsiders, but a warning to those who knew the history. It was a place you didn't go. In the summer of 1998, 3 friends set out to hike a remote section of the Appalachian Trail. Mark, the leader, Lisa, the photographer, and David, the audio enthusiast with his new Sony recorder. They were young, experienced, and full of life. They had no idea they were heading towards a place that local legend had already named and feared. On their 3rd day, seeking an unspoiled vista, they decided to leave the marked trail. They crossed a crumbling, ancient stone wall, a property line from a century past. Almost immediately, the atmosphere changed.
Whoa, check this out. Some kind of no trespassing sign, 1800 style?
They joked about it, but an hour later, they found another, and another. The carvings weren't weathered. The wood inside was fresh, oozing sap. That's when they heard it. Not a branch snap, an axe strike. Clear, deliberate, and far too close. They called out, "Hello." Their voices were met with a silence so profound it felt aggressive. Lisa, trying to dismiss the unease, took a photo of the valley. It was only later that the figure in the background would be discovered. Their camp that night was not a refuge. It was the beginning of the hunt. As darkness fell, the forest came alive with sounds that defied explanation. David instinctively kept his recorder running. The evidence they left behind is a chronological map of their terror.
Do you guys feel watched?
Who's there? We're armed.
Sony.
Listen to that. It's not a word, it's a sound. A hiss. What would you have done, sitting in that circle of light, hearing your location whispered back at you from the dark? The next morning, Lisa reviewed her photos from the night before. One was a long exposure shot of the stars, but in the foreground, illuminated for a split second by the flash, was this. This effigy was not there when they set up camp. It was placed within feet of them as they slept. A message, a threat. But the most chilling discovery was yet to come. As they packed to flee, David found something near the effigy. A small, leather pouch, rancid and old. Inside were human teeth, a rusted nail, and a single dried bean. What follows is the final, frantic minutes of the tape. They are running. But years later, audio experts cleaned up the recording, isolating sounds buried beneath the panic.
They're herding us. Don't let them.
David falls. The recorder is on the ground, but still recording. This is the moment the legend of Sony Beans becomes horrifyingly real.
Please, we didn't mean to. We have food, money.
You're on Beans Land.
The beans? Is that what you want? We don't have any beans.
We are the Beans.
We are the Beans. Not a food, not an object. A family name, a bloodline. After hearing that, what do you believe was out there that day? A family of feral humans? Or something even older and more primal? But the enhanced audio revealed one final, bone-chilling detail. In the background, under the feral man's voice, the analysts found another sound. The faint, high-pitched wail of a baby. The Sony recorder was found a week later by searchers, lying in a creek bed. The search party also found the small clearing where the final struggle took place. The ground was churned up. There was a large, dark stain on the earth that tested positive for human blood. And scattered around the site were dozens of dried, ordinary beans. No bodies were ever recovered. The official investigation, faced with a lack of remains and the bizarre evidence, eventually stalled. But the theories are more horrifying than any official report. The savage bean bloodline. The legend is true. The descendants of Ezekiel Beans still live in the hollow. Generations of isolation and inbreeding creating a feral, predatory clan. The symbols are their markers. The effigies, their warnings. They hunt trespassers not just for food, but as a twisted rite of passage. The beans scattered at the scene? A signature, a grisly calling card. The Wendigo psychosis. Could the legend be a mask for something even more ancient and terrifying? Some researchers point to the phenomena of Wendigo psychosis, a cultural belief where humans, driven by starvation and isolation, become possessed by a cannibalistic spirit. The whispering wind, the superhuman strength, the insatiable hunger described on the tape. It fits an older, more terrifying pattern. The perfect, tragic storm. The logical explanation: they got lost, suffered from dehydration and shared psychosis, and fell victim to the elements. The voices were the wind, the figures were pareidolia, and the beans were simply wild seeds scattered by animals. The tape is a recording of their collective breakdown, a tragedy misread as a horror story. The Sony Beans tape is more than a relic of a tragedy. It is a bridge between our world and a forgotten one. A world where history doesn't die. It just waits in the hollows, hungry and patient. It's a story that proves that sometimes the oldest warnings are the ones we should heed the most. 3 voices went into the wilderness, chasing beauty. They found a legend with teeth. And the only thing that came back was a ghost, trapped on magnetic tape, whispering a name that was never meant to be forgotten: Sony Beans. The official file may be closed, but the mystery is alive. So I have to ask you, did Mark, Lisa, and David fall victim to a tragic accident, a feral bloodline straight out of history, or a mythical predator born from the deepest fears of mankind? What is your final verdict on the Sony Beans? Let me know in the comments. If you want me to investigate another case where the wilderness kept its secrets, watch our video. We opened a $5 cursed storage unit. We shouldn't have right here. Until next time, stay on the trail. Don't forget to subscribe AI Storytelling YTS. See you in next video.